Good morning, everyone. I wanted to begin by thanking you all for being here this morning. It's an extreme honor to have the Prime Minister Trudeau here. Let's put our hands together just to give him a nice Sault Ste. Marie welcome. I'm also delighted to be joined here today by MPP David Arzetti. He's been a great ally and friend to me as I've been working here in Sault Ste. Marie, and Minister Arzetti right here, and Mayor Provenzano as well. There are a number of city councillors here, our hardworking transit staff, of course, and I noticed the Chief of Missinaba Cree is here as well. Thank you very much for showing up. And just before we get too far into the agenda, make sure that your cell phones are on quiet or on vibrate or something or other like that, so that there is no interruptions. Anyways, I'm Terry Sheehan, as many of you are aware, and as the member of Sault Ste. Marie, I'd like to welcome you to the Sault Ste. Marie Bus Barn. This building is home to an important part of the transit system in our community and is part of what keeps the buses moving. In Sault Ste. Marie, we have 8 major and 3 community bus routes and a parabus service. These are essential to the mobility of all members of our community. In 2013, these transit buses provided 1.95 million passenger trips. Our bus systems allow students attending Sault College and Algoma University to get around easily. It helps seniors get from point A to point B, and it is here for the needs of everyone in between. Public transit is essential to growing the economy, and it creates jobs. As part of Budget 2016, Growing the Middle Class, our government is investing in public transit. We've also committed to doubling investments in infrastructure by more than $120 billion over 10 years to invest in Canadians to create jobs and build a stronger Northern Ontario. At Sault Ste. Marie, we know the importance of good infrastructure and a transit system that keeps people moving. I take pride in being the voice of my constituents in Ottawa and delivering our government's commitment to real change for Canadians, one step at a time. We also have the pleasure and the honor of having the Right Honourable Ron Irwin, who is a former cabinet minister and ambassador to Ireland here, and a great friend. So without further ado, it is a great honor that I now invite Prime Minister Trudeau to the podium. Please put your hands together.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Terry, and thank you for all your tireless work on behalf of the folks of the Soo. I have to say, Terry's a regular contributor at our caucus meetings, highlighting not just concerns for people here in the Soo, but right across Northern Ontario, always focused with his municipal background on how to have the best impact in the lives of people in their everyday lives. He's a great voice, and I'm lucky to have him among us. Thank you very much, Terry. You and David are doing a phenomenal job of representing the people of Sault Ste. Marie, and I'm glad you're both here with me. Thank you as well for being here, David. I also want to thank Mayor Provenzano for welcoming us to the city. Christian is a longtime friend and an incredibly hard worker, and Sault Ste. Marie's strongest advocate. Thank you, Christian, for your warm welcome. And thanks to all of you for coming out to the bus barn today, where the people you see behind me work hard every day to keep the system up and running and in good repair. And I know that can be a challenging job. Sault Ste. Marie Transit Services, like transit systems all across Canada, has been hard-pressed to keep up with the kind of system improvements that passengers expect. The Mayor understands this. So does Terry, who was a councillor for many years. And so, most importantly, do the people who rely on transit services every day. You see, riders know that reliable service isn't just about convenience. It's about getting to work on time and back home to your kids at the end of a long day. For many in the Soo, it's how they get to a doctor's appointment or to a Greyhounds game. Transit is a vital part of the city, as it is in many communities all across the country, and the work that's being done here in this barn helps to make better, more reliable transit service possible. So I'm happy to announce today that this important work has new federal investments to back it up. In last month's budget, we announced $3.4 billion in investments in public transit over the next 3 years, starting right away. These investments will improve the reliability and efficiency of public transit systems, strengthening communities and growing Canada's economy. Here in Ontario, this will mean an investment of nearly $1.5 billion over the next 3 years to achieve those goals. That'll mean millions for public transit right here in Sault Ste. Marie, subject to agreement with the province. Les investissements que nous faisons ici et partout au pays sont proportionnels au nombre d'usagers qui fréquentent le réseau. Ils serviront à augmenter la capacité, à améliorer les services et à faire des réparations dont le système a besoin depuis très longtemps. Cela inclut les projets qui sont dans les plans d'immobilisation des municipalités depuis des années, mais qui n'ont jamais vu le jour, faute de moyens. Ici, à Sault-Sainte-Marie, cela pourrait se traduire par des nouveaux autobus ou des améliorations pour les arrêts d'autobus et les trajets. There are 3 things that are different about the investment we're announcing today. Firstly, it's immediate. Municipalities will start to receive the funds they need to get started this year. Second, it's more generous. To get projects moving quickly, the federal government will fund up to 50% of the eligible costs for projects. Third, we're giving provinces and municipalities the freedom to invest these funds in the way that makes the most sense for their communities. They're the local experts. They know what needs to be done better than anyone else. Nous sommes dans le processus de mettre en place des critères de base. Après, ce sera au gouvernement à l'échelle locale de décider quelle est la meilleure façon d'investir dans le transport pour leur communauté. Au cours de la prochaine année, nous développerons la 2e phase d'investissement dans le transport pour financer les projets importants dont les Canadiens ont besoin. Public transit makes the places we call home even better places to live. During the campaign, we promised that, if elected, we would make the investments in public transit that have been long overdue, and I'm proud to be here today to deliver on that promise. Thank you all once again for being here today. Looking forward to hearing from David and Christian, and then I'll be back here to take your questions. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for that wonderful news for the riding of Sault Ste. Marie. I would now like to introduce Minister Orzetti to make some remarks. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I want to thank Don Scott for hosting today's event and for the hard work of all the individuals standing behind us who make our transit system what it is today. Thank you very much, Terry. Good morning, all of you. It is a great pleasure to be here. Prime Minister, welcome back to Sault Ste. Marie. Mayor Provenzano, great to see you as well. Prime Minister, I want to thank you for your commitment to improving public transit and for your commitment to important infrastructure improvements across Ontario and in particular right here in Sault Ste. Marie. We look forward to working with you and your government to build Ontario and Canada up and create the economic opportunities that we all want to see. Our government has been a strong supporter of public transit, and through the Ontario Gas Tax program, which dedicates 2 cents of the provincial gas tax to public transit, we have invested over $12.7 million locally to support the purchase of new buses, added routes, and additional jobs. In fact, one bus takes up to 40 vehicles off the road and keeps 25 tons of greenhouse gas emissions out of the atmosphere each year. In 2015, there was an increase of more than 217 million trips on municipal transit systems across the province compared to 2003. And research shows that every $100 million invested in public infrastructure in Ontario boosts GDP by $114 million, particularly in construction and manufacturing. And Ontario is on track to invest $160 billion in infrastructure over the next 12 years. We look forward to building on this progress with you and with a federal partner that understands the importance of making these investments. Last week, MP Sheehan and I had the opportunity to highlight our progress and investments in post-secondary education at Sault College, and I see our local college president, Ron Common, here. It's great to see you here as well. Prime Minister Trudeau, on another note, I want to thank our Member of Parliament, Terry Sheehan, for being a strong advocate in your government and supporting trade remedy modernization and fair trade for steel in Canada. Prime Minister, I want to thank you for the letter that you sent me on steel dumping in Canada and for ensuring that your budget contained provisions to address this critical issue. I know that Minister Morneau recently spoke with my colleague, Minister Duguid, and this is a welcomed conversation. Given the significance of this issue to our city and to thousands of workers and their families, it is essential that we work together for a sustainable, long-term solution. Thank you very much for your commitments to public transit, for being here in Sault Ste. Marie today. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I'd like to now call on the Mayor of Sault Ste. Marie, Christian Provenzano.
Good morning. It is great to be here with all of you today to welcome the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau to Sault Ste. Marie. I would like to acknowledge the City Councillors in attendance, our MPP, Minister Orzetti, and our Member of Parliament, Terry Sheehan. I'd also like to acknowledge the Honourable Ron Irwin, who is here with us today. Mr. Prime Minister, your recent election platform was focused on the middle class, on helping the middle class, on building stronger communities, and on investing in our infrastructure. Sault Ste. Marie is very much a middle-class community. It is a community of earnest people with simple, but I suggest important and admirable ambition to have a good job, to work hard at that job, to provide for their families, and to give back to their community. City Hall is doing what it can to create a climate wherein our residents can meet this ambition. But as a singular level of government acting on its own, its reach is limited. The idea that we are stronger together is, from my perspective, a fundamental premise of this country. It is also indisputable. Experience and history tell us that we are better and more effective when we work together with common goal and for the common good. To create the climate that we want to create here in Sault Ste. Marie, to meet our challenges and to develop into the community that we believe that we can be, we need the federal government's partnership. Your party's platform spoke to that partnership. Your government's action since being elected demonstrates its commitment to that partnership. Your announcement here today evidences the partnership. On behalf of my office, City Council, and the City of Sault Ste. Marie, I thank you. And while we recognize that we have a partner in you and your government, we assure you that you have a partner in us. I would like to close with an invitation. Ron and Marg Irwin have a picture of you with your father on the Agua Canyon tour train some 35 years ago. City Council and I would like to invite you and your family back to Sault Ste. Marie to take that same tour train ride with us and with our families this fall, next fall, or the fall after that. Considering the demands of your schedule, it is an open invitation, but one that I think could be quite special if you can find the time to take us up on it. Thank you. Merci.
Again, thank you very much. It's just great having the Prime Minister here today, and I remember when he was here during the election, and it was a great day. They put the wind in our sail, and as the Prime Minister was leaving, he said, "I'll be back." And so all throughout the election, when's he coming, when's he coming? Well, I'm proud to say that not even 6 months since being elected, he's back in Sault Ste. Marie with this very important announcement. So I'd like to call him up right now and invite the media to ask any questions. Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, David. Thank you, Christian, for the invitation. The experience that my kids are going through is particularly unique, but one that I am uniquely positioned to actually support them with. And one of the great memories of my childhood was always visiting communities across the country like the Sioux with my dad, and I certainly hope I'll be able to take you up on your generous invitation. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions from media now. There's a mic here.
Good morning. Welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. My name is Lynn Brown. I'm with SiouxOnline.com. My question is this. As you continue to unveil your platform that you were elected on, can Canadians expect a major announcement in 12 days on the policy file of marijuana?
We are continuing to work very hard on making sure that young people have less access to marijuana than they have right now, because we know Canada is one of the countries with the highest level of access for young people to marijuana, and that needs to change. We also know that we're funding indirectly to the tune of billions of dollars criminal organizations, gun runners, and street gangs with the illicit trade of marijuana. So we believe that controlling and regulating marijuana is the best way to keep it out of the hands of our kids and to keep our communities safe. And we will have more to say in the coming days and weeks on how we're going to fulfill this important commitment we made to Canadians.
Thank you.
Prime Minister, good morning. Terry Bedwell with Canadian Press. As I understand it, your government is about to announce legislation as early as next week on assisted dying. I'm just wondering, given the time frames, you've got a June 6th deadline to pass legislation. Will you be limiting debate on that legislation, and what is wrong with including people who have dementia or older minors in that legislation?
First of all, we recognized that when the Supreme Court ruling came down last spring, there was an urgent need to engage with it, which is why the Liberal Party put forward a motion to the then government to hurry up on engaging Canadians. We know that the previous government chose not to act quickly, and therefore we had to ask for an extension until June for the deadline, which the Supreme Court granted. We know that this is an issue that touches Canadians and their families deeply. As Liberals, we stand to defend individuals' rights, but also need to make sure we're protecting the most vulnerable, and any legislation that we put forward will be based on that. We recognize that the Supreme Court's time limits and the heel-dragging of the previous administration has left us in a bit of time pressure. But if I can go to the example of the joint committee that was set up that had members from all different parties and indeed senators on it, who demonstrated that on an issue such as this, there is tremendous capacity for mature, reflective debate, engaging with the issues in substantive and sensitive ways. I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to meet the deadline imposed by the Supreme Court while having a fulsome, responsible debate that involves the voices that need to be heard on this issue.
And my supplementary, I wanted to ask you about Via Rail. In your budget, you earmarked some money for studying Via Rail's plan to expand into high-frequency rail, which is basically same trains, different tracks. Up until 2009, Via had a plan to bring in high-speed trains between Windsor and Quebec City. You've always talked about bold and ambitious plans. I'm wondering why the government is now abandoning a more bold and ambitious plan of high-speed rail and putting in place studies on high-frequency rail.
We're very much looking forward to improve transportation and transit for all Canadians, and obviously rail is going to be an important part of that, and that's why we're looking at investing more. We're looking to hear from Via and from other areas of the country on what kind of solutions we have. This government knows that we need to build a stronger, more efficient, greener economy, and that public transit and transportation like passenger rail is going to be an important part of that mix. But we also know Canadians expect us to get it right. And that's why we're taking our responsibilities seriously, and the investments that we make in things like transit here today, but in long-term gains for communities and citizens right across the country continue to be made the right way. And that's why we're taking the time to make sure that any investments we make will be the right ones, not just for the short term, but for the long-term growth and prosperity of the middle class and those working hard to join.
Kenneth Armstrong, Sault today. With such low prices in the commodities market for things like steel, natural gas extraction, we have our major employers here, Algoma Steel, SR Steel Algoma, I should say, and Tenaris Tubes Algoma. Does it make sense to continue supporting these 20th century industries when we know even if they boom again, they are going to bust? What are your thoughts on that?
Boom-bust cycles have always been part of commodities, and whether we like it or not, this is Canada, and Canada will always have a foundational element of our economy built around natural resources and their development and their exploitation and extraction. So the challenge is, how do we make sure that our economies are resilient enough, that our workforce is diversified enough to make sure that we are able to absorb the blows of fluctuating commodities markets. Now, we had a government that for 10 years focused almost exclusively on commodities as a way of generating growth, and because of that, we lagged a little bit in investments in education, certainly in investments in innovation, and in the kind of upgrades and infrastructure investments that are needed to keep us competitive. So I'm extremely excited about the future of Canadian manufacturing, about the opportunities we have to engage not just with the North American market, but indeed the world, and that's why I've made such an emphasis on engaging with the world and talking about the opportunity to invest in Canada, the opportunity to grow businesses here in Canada, because for all of our strength on natural resources, our greatest resource is the people standing right behind me, and people like them right across the country. Hardworking, driven Canadians who are innovative and creative, willing to get a good education and a better job, always willing to deliver for their family, for their communities, for their country. These are the kinds of things that investors from around the world are looking at, and the stability and the opportunities and the extraordinary diversified workforce that Canada has to offer right across the country is going to be a strength in the global market and the global supply chain for generations to come.
Just a related follow-up. Within the infrastructure funding that you're doing, the overall, is there any opportunity for SR Steel Algoma to not be undercut by foreign steel for anything that might need it?
As David mentioned, we are very, very concerned with the practice of dumping into the Canadian market, and we've been working very closely with different levels of government, and Terry himself has been a very strong advocate within our caucus for this issue. We take this challenge very, very seriously, and we're working with different levels of government and indeed industry to make sure that we have a strong future for steel in Canada.
Jordan Allard, CTV News, Northern Ontario. Prime Minister, a little bit of a follow-up further to that. I know locally one of our biggest private sector employers, SR Steel Algoma, is in the midst of creditor protection. It's undergoing a restructuring plan. There's an anticipation at the completion of that there's going to be a financial ask from the federal government. How committed is your government to helping the steel industry survive locally here in Sault Ste. Marie?
Well, one of the things that we've put forward is a significant plan to invest in infrastructure right across the country. And as we well know, building new infrastructure often requires new steel. And there is a strong future for the steel industry in Canada. And that's something that we are working, as I said, with different levels of government, but also with industry directly, not just here in the Soo, but right across the country, to ensure that the good jobs that are related to this industry and the strong future for Canada in economic growth continue to be addressed. So we're going to continue to be a good partner on this, and we look forward to future discussions.
And a follow-up, Prime Minister, you talked about leveling the playing field and the dumping of steel from China. I know the Canadian Steel Producers Association have called for your government to adopt a proposed trade remedy modernization plan that talks about beefing up border enforcement of steel dumping and improving the Canadian International Trade Tribunal. This is also a plan that's received an endorsement from the man standing to your left here, our MPP, David Orzetti. What are your thoughts on that plan and maybe implementing some of those mentioned strategies?
We're very much engaged with that proposal. What we need is a fair marketplace, and if we have a level playing field, Canadians can not only compete but succeed and thrive in the global market, and that's one of the issues that we're taking very seriously as we engage with the world and as we look to securing a better future, not just for Canadian workers and the Canadian economy, but greater opportunities for everyone around the world as well.
Jasmine Rowley, Local 2. Now I have a quick question for you. So you mentioned the importance of diversification. Does the federal government have a plan to bring new business and permanent employment opportunities to the north and specifically Sault Ste. Marie?
Well, one of the things that we've focused on in this budget is supporting communities like the Sioux and indeed the people who live here. The Mayor talked about the challenges that middle-class Canadians are facing, and this is something that we address directly in our budget. With the new Canada Child Benefit that kicks in on July 1st, 9 out of 10 families, including the middle class, will get more generous monthly benefits that are tax-free, unlike the previous child benefits, that will help them with the cost of raising their kids and the challenges that people are facing right now. On top of that, we've lowered taxes as of January 1st for everyone in the middle class, raising them for the wealthiest 1%. We continue to focus on investments like public transit, like green infrastructure, like social infrastructure that are going to have a positive impact in communities and in places like the Sioux that are already developing a tremendous reputation for being forward-thinking and green. I know there are very exciting investments coming and opportunities to make sure that communities like the Sioux, right across Northern Ontario, have the opportunities to grow, to expand. We're also investing in post-secondary education, in the kinds of research and innovation that's going to make a big difference. These are things that we're very serious in our approach, and it's an especial pleasure to be able to highlight the fact that we have so many strong voices like Terry Sheehan from Northern Ontario in our caucus, highlighting the challenges but also the opportunities that exist here, and we look forward to being a good partner to Northern Ontario for many years to come.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you.